But welcome to today's popover session, everybody. Let's just get started. Let's get started, and then we can do like Q&A and stuff while these things are in the oven. I figure I might as well get them going sooner rather than later. So first thing we're gonna need is a pretty simple recipe. We got 5 ingredients here, and we're gonna use milk, eggs, starter, salt, and flour. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat my milk 1 cup. I'll put this in the microwave for like 15 seconds, something like that, just to make it warm. So I recommend you do the same.
So 1 cup of milk warmed up in the microwave, 15 seconds.
Yeah, whatever. Make it. I just want it to be like room temperature or maybe even a little warmer. A lot of times it's important to get the ingredients warm, or at least room temperature, because if you get them straight out of the oven or right out of the fridge, they can be too cold, and it can prevent it from rising or whatever.
Good morning, Lucy. Good morning, Dan. To catch you up, you should have your oven on at 450 with the muffin pan inside of the oven already, and a cup of milk in the microwave for about 15 seconds to just get it a little bit warmed up / room temperature.
Got it.
Maybe we should just give everybody another.
A second to do that.
Yeah. The only people who look like they're ready are Christian and okay, then we got some people.
All right, get some more people ready. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna get some of my flour. Got a mixing bowl. I hope you have a mixing bowl here. Flour, I'm gonna use a cup. Now this is actually important. I was talking to Lucy the other day about measuring flour because she pointed out that, I've been saying that a cup of flour weighs 120 grams, and that's not actually always true. We can go into that later, but first just measure out a cup of flour. The right way to measure flour, by the way, is to kind of reach in there, fluff it up a little bit so it's nice and airy, scoop it, so you got like it's overflowing here, and then take a butter knife and just swipe across it so you get 1 even cup of flour. So there you go, I got 1 even cup. I should put that in my mixing bowl.
Are you supposed to do this part in there?
Combine the warm milk with the egg, sourdough starter, salt, and mix in the flour. Yeah, I guess maybe.
You just pour that flour back into the bowl.
Well, everybody else is doing the same thing as me. I can't actually hear anybody, so I hope no one's talking.
Well, everybody's muted themselves.
Cool. All right, we're gonna get some eggs. I got 3 eggs. They're going in the pan. 1, 2, and 3.
Mix all that stuff.
And then mix the flour.
Over mix it, so you don't want to.
Yeah, I screwed up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Cool. Next up, I'm gonna take my milk. So I got kind of warm milk, room temperature milk, whatever. 1 cup of it. It's going in.
All right. So right now in the bowl, I'll have eggs, flour, and
milk. And actually, yeah, Jared, you put your flour in the bowl?
I have.
Were we supposed to do separate bowls?
It's pre-measured.
Yeah, so actually, this is a good point. Jenny pointed this out to me that I already screwed up these instructions. I think it's going to be fine, but I did want to call out that it says to mix all the other ingredients together first and then add the flour last.
That's why I waited. Okay, so should I follow? What should I do?
Yeah, continue with that. That's the smart thing to do.
Okay, so just eggs,
Milk.
milk,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
and salt and butter.
Yeah, so Jared's using a different recipe than the rest of us.
Okay.
Because he doesn't have a sourdough starter. So
Yeah.
Neither do we. So what should we do?
What are you doing? You're not sourdoughing either, right?
No, we are not. We have everything in 1 bowl.
Okay, that's fine. That's what I have as well.
Okay, but what should we do since we don't have sourdough?
Are you using the sourdough recipe that I sent out?
No. Well, I was just following along with you. We
Okay.
walk, so.
Yeah. All right. Here's what I would suggest for you, Dan. Just sort of winging it. Use a cup and a half of flour and a cup and a half of milk instead of
Okay.
1 cup each.
And
Okay.
David, with the one that doesn't have the sourdough starter, we use 4 eggs instead of 3 eggs.
Cool.
Recipe's a little different. Oh, did you already say that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think everybody else is
So I'll
doing-
get the milk, go get the other eggs.
Are
And
you
I'll get
ready
the
for
other,
flour?
I'll get the other flour.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Well, we're going to be using half a cup of sourdough starter. So I'm going to just, so just take your sourdough starter. We're going to pour it in there, measure it out to half a cup, or use a dry measure, whatever. And then that goes in.
Are they doing a regular bowl or are they doing
Regular.
All right. And then finally, let's wait for everyone to catch up here.
So in your bowl right now, you should have flour, eggs, milk, and sourdough starter.
That's right. And then last.
Should we be putting salt in
For the non-sourdough
for
starter.
non-sourdough starters?
Yeah. So, sure. I mean, like, okay, I'm not here. I'm going to put this out there. I'm not looking at a non-sourdough recipe right now. So you got to either look one up yourself. I'd sent Jared one. Sorry, I didn't realize I should have sent you one, Dan. So either just follow along with what we're doing and hope for the best, or look up a recipe. That's my suggestion.
Okay. All right. We'll just follow along. Hope for the best.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
The sourdough in this recipe is really there for flavor. It's not actually helping it rise. So I think that's why it should be fine to do it. Just up the amount of milk and flour. All right. Last but not least, I've got 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. That's going in there too. It's all in the mix. So now we got our 5 ingredients in there. So flour, eggs, half a cup of starter, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and a cup of flour. I'm just gonna mix that stuff up.
You're aiming to mix it up without over mixing. A few small lumps are okay.
That's right.
We're looking for it to be thinner than a pancake batter. About the consistency of heavy cream. Yum, yum.
When you get it to the consistency you like, can you show that on the camera? That's, I feel like, where I always mess up. I think I always overmix it.
Sure.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
Those of us who decided to mix the wet and dry separately,
Yeah.
we're mixing the eggs, the milk, the flour, the starter, not the flour, the starter separately in a bowl,
Yeah.
the flour. And then we're aiming for that consistency you're talking about. It doesn't matter how well we mix the wet, right?
Right. Exactly. Just mix that wet stuff together so it's one, cohesive fluid, and then mixing it with the dry stuff.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that this recipe is pretty forgiving. So, that's why I'm not worried about having done things a little bit out of order.
David, why do you use a whisk and a bowl instead of the KitchenAid? Any reason?
I'm just doing this because I think that it's easier for this cooking show.
Oh.
You don't really need a KitchenAid. This is not like heavy duty stuff, but you can use it if you want.
Yeah. Well, we're not, but usually we just use a KitchenAid for everything.
Yeah, feel free to.
You wouldn't want to KitchenAid the batter because you don't want it overmixed.
That is a good point. Yeah, you'd have to be careful not to overmix it.
So we don't have our 2 camera angles happening today, but David is sort of like swirling around the bowl and then kind of pushing it on the side to try to work out some of the lumps
Some
here.
bigger lumps, but yeah, I'm not.
You using a spatula or a whisk?
Yeah, I'm just using a spatula.
I'll just do this.
I don't know how much it matters. A whole lot.
How much lumpage should we have?
That's a good question.
Good shot.
So here's what I got right here. If you can
That's
see
about
that.
what we have.
So you can see it's mostly smooth. I got there's like a lump right there.
Yeah.
It's like they're small. They're like the size of a pea or a grain of rice or something.
That looks pretty good then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
There you go. But yeah, you wouldn't want this. You wouldn't want to put this in a blender and make it super duper smooth. All right.
Hi, Jackson.
Yeah, we have another celebrity baker on the line here. Jackson Procopio right there. All right. Cool. Next up. So, should have your stuff all mixed. You should have your pan preheating. So now, I'm gonna take my pan out of the oven.
If it's not preheated,
Yeah, is anybody's not like really hot? Should be really hot.
Ours is set. Ours is only 335 degrees right now.
Yeah, so I'd say wait a few minutes. Just let it get all the way up there.
yeah, just
Okay.
watch along, but don't pull your stuff out yet because you want it to
Yeah.
really be hot.
So now
Okay.
we've got to, grease the cups here in the muffin tin, and there's a few ways to do this. This is gonna be really hot, so just make sure you don't burn yourself. You can use Pam, trusty Pam, or any sort of spray. You can use butter. Get some butter in there, maybe melted butter. I think I might do that. I think I might do butter.
Okay.
Let's,
Butter or oil.
yeah, butter or oil.
Are you gonna melt the butter?
I'm hoping that it'll actually kind of melt. Oh, I was just gonna.
Okay, I just didn't want it to cool down too much while you were
Yeah. All right.
ready.
Yep. I'll put that in the- Here it is. Cool. I'm gonna use butter. So this is gonna make about 6 popovers. So just pick 6 little cups here that maybe leave a gap between each one of them. So I'm just gonna throw some chunks of butter in these. Butter's gonna melt right now. So throw it in there.
They do blow up a lot, so you don't want them all next to each other because they'll all leak into each other. So kind of.
Yeah, give them some room. They gotta pop, All right. So that's 6. My butter is in there. It is melting away as we speak. So I'm just gonna take my brush and brush it all in the insides. But feel free to use spray. That's gonna be a lot easier. I just think butter is gonna taste really good. This is like my Paula Deen moment right now of this cooking show.
You want to make sure you get it all the way up the side so it doesn't stick.
Yeah, totally. So make sure you do get up to the edges there, because we're actually gonna fill these all the way to the top. This is not like a muffin recipe where you do like a half or 3/4. We're going right to the top.
Do you even want to do like on the outside edge a little bit?
Yeah.
The dangerous here.
So David, we had sprayed ours because for our recipe, it didn't say preheat the pan. So now we're wiping off the old spray because it's all burnt and we're going to respray.
I apologize.
That's okay. We had just already sprayed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
And then we'll respray it.
If you've got all your cups in here and they're all ready to go, then just pour a mixture in. We're going to pour the mixture to the top of each cup.
Make sure you remember which one is actually buttered.
Yep.
How many did you do, David?
I did 6.
Oh,
Yeah,
My recipe makes 6. Read your recipe to find out how many yours makes.
yeah, that's a popover pan, so it's a little deeper.
Yeah.
We don't have a popover pan. This is a muffin tin.
Yeah.
That's muffins?
ours said it made.
All right, yeah.
Right?
Well, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, figure it out. I mean, here's the catch. Like, fill them to the top. If you have more batter, which I actually have more batter right now, I'm just going to make a couple extras.
Sure.
It's not hard to just, get in there and put a few more in.
What did our recipe say? Maybe.
I
Check. Because you don't want to spray them all if you're not using them all.
Ah,
David, do you pour? I had read once before that you pour water in the cups that you're not using. Do you do that?
I have not done that, no.
Okay.
It could be an interesting way to do things. I don't know.
It says use a 12 cup muffin pan. Yeah, I had read one time before, like if you ever make something and you don't use all the spots to put water in the spots that are empty.
Yeah, I can see that. That would make sense to maybe make things more even, but
yeah.
Lisa, is that to protect the pan or is that just for moisture?
I'm thinking to protect the pan. I
yeah.
don't know. I like read it once and then I've always done it because I'm afraid to I don't know, burn the pan, but I'm not really sure.
I've never, whenever I bake, I don't keep them empty and it's fine.
On the recipe we're using, it says fill the cups 2/3 to 3/4 full. Should I just say the hell with that and just go to the top like you guys do?
You know what? You do you.
Well, I've done this and I don't really have a lot of luck with it, so I think I'm gonna do what you do.
Yeah, do it, pop it.
All right, let's
All right, I'm going in the oven right now.
scan thoroughly.
I have more
We're
questions.
in the area between
Yeah.
the cups.
I'm going to the top.
Make sure the
All right.
oven is the temperature. Where does it say fill 3/4? Oh, I had it on. I
Yeah.
just screenshotted it.
Yeah.
All right, I've just put mine in the oven and I put on a timer for 15 minutes. 15 minutes at 450, and then we're gonna do some readjustment after that.
10 minutes?
15.
15 minutes. All right.
minutes.
This
Right.
one says it makes 6. So you should only grease 6.
How's everybody else doing? Well, you're all occupied, so
Mhm,
we'll
give
wait
it a
for
minute.
Mikey, Alice, Amaris once you're.
Nice.
We had to reheat our pan because we had to wipe off the old spray
Gotcha.
Right.
behind.
All right.
Excuse you.
I heard
I
that.
like my butter dish in Costa Rica. It's got a toucan on it.
Oh, that's nice.
There you go.
Dan, for the non-sourdough ones, it says cook for 20 minutes. Actually, for the non-sourdough ones, it says preheat to 450, but bake the popovers for 20 minutes, reduce the heat to 350, and bake for an additional 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, so we're gonna follow a really similar thing for the sourdough people. And
Okay.
it's like I said, this is a really forgiving recipe. So here's the deal: if you bake for 15 and 15, or you bake for 20 and 10, or whatever, it's kind of all the same thing. I don't stress this stuff too much.
So what did you say? You said 20 and 10, 15 and 50, something like that, and drop down to 350?
So
Also doing a gluten-free, dairy-free version, so we're gonna let you all know how that comes out.
yeah, so for all my people, 15 minutes, 450. You can figure out what you want to do.
We have no idea.
Yeah, we're the outliers. That's fine.
David, what
Yeah.
should we be preparing for topping our popovers?
Nothing. They're going to be delicious when they come straight out of that oven. But if you want butter or jam,
We'll be using peach jam made by somebody who's present on this call.
that's right.
Mine?
Yes,
Sure will.
that's right.
Also, hi, Sarah and Dan.
Visions from celebrities here. You can also actually, after they come out, if you wanted to, you could like put some sugar on top, dunk them in some sugar, whatever. They're gonna be.
Like he did.
Some of those.
Or I could recreate Clover breakfast sandwich with cheddar and
Alexa,
So you have
set
your
it, cancel the timer.
good, Alice.
what?
You're in the oven.
They're in the oven.
Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes.
I don't know how large these are.
Also, hi, Mike Murfeld.
Spray too extra.
All right.
That was hot. Move.
Hey, Jenny,
Yep.
so after 15 minutes in the oven,
Yeah. Wait, you just started yours 15 minutes ago?
It's like 3 milligrams.
yeah,
Oh,
Does it only make 6?
nice. That's awesome. See, they popped.
like wicked popped.
So, Eric, for you, I mean, I guess you've already probably read ahead, but after 15 minutes in the oven, you lower the heat to 375,
350.
350, and set it for another 15. But you just want to do that until they look, done, they're golden, whatever. You want to burn them. But
Yeah.
those are looking good so far.
Yeah, they look really good.
Nice. All right. I think we have a breakfast cocktail happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
But we decided, it's noon somewhere.
There you go.
It's actually 5 o'clock on some island off of India.
Yes.
Did you look it up?
Sure, great.
Cool. All right. Does anybody else have any more questions? Because we can go into I got some other things I want to talk about, but I wanted to see if everybody's got their stuff in the oven with a timer running.
Unless your oven's not hot enough yet, then you're just a little behind us.
I have a question. I just want to be sure. Okay, so 450, we're going to go with your route right now.
Good.
15 minutes, 450.
Yeah.
What are you dropping it to? 350?
I've got written down right here 375.
370? Okay. For how long? 15?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna write that down.
Cool. All right.
I will note, David, that I had been, prior to doing these lessons, always putting in the same volume of water and flour.
Yep.
And now that I'm doing weight, it's definitely like there's more flour by volume. And it's not as, like before it would separate out and there was always like all this extra liquid happening, and that's totally gone away now. So I don't know if that's like a healthier starter sign or just a something.
Yeah. I think, I don't know about health or not, but so you're talking about when feeding your starter. Alice is talking about feeding your starter with equal parts by weight instead of equal parts by volume. And I found that it does give you better results. It gives you a better rise, and it's not too wet. You don't get all that separation of liquid that you might get otherwise. So that actually is a good point. That brings me into my next thing I did want to talk about, which was about the weight of flour. So first of all, get a digital kitchen scale. That's my number one recommendation. This recipe, obviously, we didn't need to weigh things. Like I said, this is a really simple recipe, so we're not stressing it out too much. But for those of you who don't have a scale, it's going to be really important to measure your flour like I talked about. So just take it, put your spoon there, fluff it up a little bit, and then level it off. And the reason for that is that it's going to, flour that's settled, that's been sitting in a bag like this, is going to weigh 20% more about than flour that is like kind of aerated like that. So that's why we do things by weight, because it's so much easier to get a consistent result every time. So that's my suggestion for the non-scale people. All right, I had a question earlier in the week about discard, and so I call this a discard recipe for sourdough, and this is kind of it didn't occur to me that not everybody knows what I mean when I say that, and because right now you're baking sourdough, if you're like me, like every weekend, because we're trapped inside, and that's what we get to do. But imagine that you're in a situation where it's like the summer, you don't want to bake every weekend, but you want to feed the sourdough starter every week or two. What's going to happen is if you keep feeding it without taking any out, it's going to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to more than double every single time, right? So you're going to start with a cup. Next week, you're going to have 2 cups. Then you're going to have 4 cups. Then you're going to have 8 cups. Now you're going to have like gallons of sourdough starter. That's a little bit out of hand. And if you're not actively baking, you're like, what am I going to do with this stuff? So we call recipes like this one like a discard or leftover recipe. And the idea is that you can just take your sourdough starter right out of the fridge. It doesn't need to be active. It doesn't need to be bubbly. It can be like all like flat with no air in it. It doesn't really matter. You can take that and just use it in a 5-minute recipe. And then you get some popovers out of it, or you get some waffles or pancakes or something out of it. Something that's really easy. And that's like a much better thing to do than just dumping it down the drain, because you don't want to increase the volume too much. So that's that. Any questions about that? Any questions about maintaining a starter? Nice. All right. I guess that all makes sense. Cool.
Dave, we're going to be making our starter right now. So if you want to walk us through it and anybody else.
Yeah, well, so a lot of these people already made their starter or took Mom's. So
We've been a little out of commission.
yeah, totally.
We're catching up.
Yeah. We can we'll do, maybe for you guys we can talk afterwards about how to make it. But basically it's just going to be equal parts flour and water by weight, and then you leave it out, and that's kind of it, right? All this yeast in the air, it's a very abundant organism, and it's just going to settle in there, and it's going to start to grow. It'll take about a week to grow a good starter.
You can do
Dave, how is coronavirus for growing yeast?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually,
there's a lot of that in the air over here.
Yeah. Dan and Sarah, for those who haven't heard, have recovered from their coronavirus episode. So I'm really glad to see them back on here, healthy and baking. So that's exciting.
I don't want to think it's in the air though. Thanks, honey.
So here's the
You should open all the windows when it's really warm out tomorrow.
I hope so. God.
So one good thing about sourdough and about yeast in general, right, is Dan is a brewer. He will know that yeast is really good at killing other organisms. So if you put this in here and it gets all bubbly and active and the yeast is going full steam ahead, that's going to prevent other bacteria and other things from taking up residence in here. So that's really good. So I think that is. So my answer to you is if you have coronavirus, just pour sourdough starter on yourself.
I love it.
You can't go wrong.
Bathe in it, shower in it.
Make a mask out of
Nice
it.
little scrub.
In case I leave it like that, you come to this,
Okay.
your name, and then type in that cookie.
Show you the legacy star.
Oh, so let's see. Christy's got one here. So what did you say?
This is your legacy star.
Oh, from Alice.
Now that's from your mom. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Yeah, it's doing well. So yeah, so oh right, so this is a great point. So I had said to some people, I put in the email, if you already have more than a cup of starter, you don't need to feed it the day before. So the only point for feeding it yesterday was just to increase the volume, just so we had enough so that you didn't use it all up. So if you're in that situation where you're like, I didn't feed it yesterday, well, guess what? Today's your chance. Put in equal part flour and water, let that rise, and then back in the fridge it goes. So I fed mine yesterday. It's done its work for today. Guess what? We're going. See you next weekend, buddy.
Maddie, move your camera down so we can see you. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Maddie?
Knock, knock.
David, I actually do have a question about the starter, I realized. So if I want to feed it, I don't have to add equal parts. The important part is that the water and flour are equal parts, right? Not that they're equal to what's in the jar.
So that's actually what I do. The simple way of doing this is you're going to use equal parts of starter, equal part flour, equal part water. Just 1 to 1 to 1 by weight of all that stuff.
But what if I don't have enough flour to do that? Can I just add equal parts flour and water?
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. This is, like I said, this is very flexible. It's very forgiving. So if you only have like half the flour volume you need, and just use an equal amount of water as well, you know, and it won't rise as high or whatever, but it'll survive for another week or two, and hopefully that'll give you time to get out to the market and get some flour or
Oh
something.
my God. I did get out to the market, and much to my chagrin, all they had was bleached flour.
Yeah, I've never used bleached flour, and I don't really know if what kind of effect that's going to have. So I would be a little wary of it. I don't know. I don't even know.
We'll find out in a second.
I think it could be fine for baking. I just don't know if it's going to be fine for food.
Oh no, I have a tiny bit of leftover unbleached, the good King Arthur stuff. That's why I want to use that to feed.
Yeah.
But it's only like half a cup or something, so I don't know.
And I'm just talking out loud here, if she just pulled out like a quarter cup of her starter and then used equal parts, and she wouldn't have to use as much flour.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I
Just like
maintain.
get rid of some of the.
That's why I try to maintain a small starter so you don't have to feed it as much. So, right, exactly. The smaller volume starter you have, the less you have to feed it. Cool.
David, you put it in the refrigerator all week and then just pull it out on Monday morning. You're going to start baking.
Yeah, so for a recipe like this where it doesn't need to be active, then yeah, you can just pull it right out and just maybe let it warm to room temperature, you know, and then you can put it in your pancakes. If you do want to make a really active bread, you know, pasha last week, if you want to make a boule or something, you're going to want to take it out the day before and feed it and get it all bubbly.
Okay, that's what we've been doing. I was wondering, I figured you probably wanted to do it the day before to get it again.
Exactly, right, because when it's in the fridge, it's kind of dormant, kind of goes to sleep. So you want it to be full strength when it's time for work.
So I have a hard time understanding this restate. So sometimes you use the sourdough starter as a flavor, and sometimes you use it as a yeast to do the rising. So these popovers, this is not as a yeast or a lifter, a riser, it's just for flavor. Same with pancakes and that kind of thing. But if you're doing bread, focaccia, you're using it to actually raise the bread.
With this recipe, because I just looked at mine and they're going crazy, what is it that's doing the lifting then?
So my guess, I haven't like really, thoroughly researched this, but I'm not a popologist as it were, but what I'm thinking is the steam. So that's why we make a really hot oven, make a really hot pan, right? You put your ingredients in there, all of a sudden they're going to steam up, and hopefully you get enough, that batter can hold that in, and it creates an air bubble fast enough that it make the whole dough rise from the inside.
Yeah. Right.
That's my theory here. And then that's why we're going to turn the oven down in a minute, because if you keep it really hot for a really long time, you're going to burn it, right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That gives the chance, the lower heat, I guess, gives the shell a chance to kind of solidify and hold the structure of it.
Exactly.
cool.
Mine are out and ready.
Rising.
Wait, don't you have to cook them 15 more minutes?
Oh,
You, Eric?
I started way before you guys.
Oh. Did you do 10 and did you do 15 and then 15?
I did 20. No, I did 15 and then 10.
Oh, okay. Wow.
All right, let's see. We are
Ours
back.
are not that big.
2 minutes.
Ours are blowing up, and so we actually, since we're doing gluten-free, we decided to throw in some baking soda because we find that everything becomes very
It's like
flat when we do it with
pancakes.
Yeah.
This is
So what
mine.
did you?
Ginormous right now.
Hang on,
Hold on 1 second, guys. This is mine after 15 minutes, and then I'm going to lower the oven now, and I'm going to put it back in for another 15.
Wow.
So did you tease them out of the muffin tins before you put it back in?
No, that's how
They stay in there and just they stay in there and the oven's going down in temperature.
Yeah.
Well, that's just how they popped over. That's the.
Yeah. So my thing is that's
Oh,
the,
okay.
yes, that's the steam is going to make them pop, right? That's what they call popovers. And so you see they pop right out of their tins. Yeah. Man, have to bring them around the kitchen. I don't know.
We shouldn't take ours out. You were just showing us, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Even in the like 30 seconds he had them out, they actually started to flake a little bit.
I have a question. Should we, when we drop the temperature, should we open up the oven to drop it quicker, or just leave them in, just have it naturally lower in temperature?
Yeah, exactly. Leave it in, just lower the temperature. I was just doing that to just show you guys what's going to happen in there. So for the rest of you, just lower the temperature. That's it.
Okay.
Cool.
Ours are not that big yet, but we're a little behind.
Yeah, give it a few. Sweet. I'll give everybody a second. It looks like we just lost like 4 people to go to
Check
change
out.
their ovens.
You sit on the floor, you're eye level with your oven.
Nice. I've been watching a lot of the Great British Bake Off, as I'm sure everybody knows, and that's what they do. Everybody's like on the floor looking in their ovens, watching it happen.
The Great British Bake Off?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Those ovens are cool, the way the things slide.
Those are nice. That's a nice kitchen. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do like the way that the front of the oven slides away so that it's not in the way of you.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Okay, actually, so this is a great segue. I want to talk about next week. The people had asked for a lesson on making a sourdough boule. So I want to go over what you're going to need if you want to participate in making a sourdough boule next week. Find out the recipe. Recipe is, ingredient-wise, it's really simple. You got flour, water, starter, salt. 4 things. That's it. And the magic happens. The sourdough makes all the work. But you're going to want some other things. Most importantly is you'll probably want a Dutch oven. So got mine right here. Dutch oven is a heavy cast iron pot. I know a few of you already have one of these. This is going to be an important part of cooking a boule. What's going to happen is you want to capture the steam inside of this. So by letting the steam stay around the bread, it'll give the bread a chance to rise before the crust forms. If the crust forms too early, it's going to trap the rise, and it won't rise. So we're going to bake in this thing inside the oven. So we'll heat the oven up, we'll put this inside of it, we'll put the bread inside of that, and then it all goes in there. Now, I know some of you don't have a cast iron, a Dutch oven. I got 2 suggestions for you. Number 1, buy one, because they're awesome. You can use it for making chili, and you can make soup and all sorts of stuff. You can roast a whole chicken in here. It's delicious. But if you don't want to do that, or I know that stores, it's tough to get to stores nowadays, there is a second method you can do. It's a very exciting method, and it's something that you're going to need to learn if you want to make like baguettes and stuff anyway. That's making a steam bath in your oven. So yeah.
What is a price point that you think is reasonable for a Dutch oven?
So that's the one I just showed right here is the Lodge enameled Dutch oven 5-quart. I think it might have been somewhere around the $40 price point. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah,
like that.
40 to 60.
Yeah, 40, 50, something like that.
You do not need the Le Creuset like $350 one.
Yeah, because you see that's still pretty one. They got a nice looking one over there. What's that one?
Rentham Outlet.
Rentham Outlet. There you go.
Yeah, I'm looking online and there's a lot of like 350 ones that are on sale for like $275 right now, but that seems a little much.
That's a good time to invest, you know, if you want. But
I'm in the process of ordering. I'm not in the process of buying a $275 Dutch oven.
totally. So that's Lodge, Lodge, and they make a lot of great stuff. They make cast iron skillets, all sorts of stuff that's high quality and is pretty reasonably priced.
Did we get that on Amazon?
I think ours is a Cuisinart, and it's decent, and it's roughly around the same price point.
But ours is oval. Will that matter? Should we get a circular one?
You'll just make a different shaped bread.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's roughly the same price point, like same type as the Lodge, though.
Yeah. I did want to show for people that don't have a Dutch oven, the way that we're going to do a steam oven is you're going to need basically, okay, so first of all, I'll show you what steam bath is that we're going to, you're going to put 2 pans in the oven, essentially. One pan is going to hold your bread, right? And that's going to be in the middle rack. Yes, Alice?
Sorry. You're recommending a 5-quart Dutch oven?
Yeah.
She says shopping online simultaneously.
Yes. Yeah. So you're going to basically a steam bath is you're going to put 2 pans in the oven. One pan is going to hold your bread. One pan you're going to throw water onto while it's boiling hot, and it's going to steam up. It's going to fill the whole oven with steam. It's a very dramatic thing. It's a little bit intimidating. So that is another option. We can show people how to do that next weekend if you need that. Other stuff you're going to need is you'll need some kind of bowl for your bread to rise in. I've got one of these things. Thank you, Alice Brown. This is like a proofing, and thank you, Mira. This is a proofing basket. You don't need one of these. You can just use a Tupperware. I used a Tupperware for a long time. Comes out with a pretty similar result, to be honest. This just makes a nice little pattern on the inside. But use a Tupperware, something about this size. You know, and this is going to hold your dough while it's rising. Some other stuff that you might want. Bench scraper. This is a bench scraper. This is a bowl.
Oh no. Hold on. Oops.
All right. Bench scraper, bowl scraper, optional. They just make it easier to handle the dough. Like this, you can scoop with this. You can scoop the bowl out with. Fine. And then you might want some razor blades. So I got some little razor blades here. You just need one. They're really cheap. Come in little packages like this. This is used for scoring the dough. You can use a very sharp knife too. These are just sharper, so that's why I like them. But so again, the only thing that you really need is either a Dutch oven and 2 pans, and you're gonna need a bowl. I think that's about it.
Dave, I have a question on those bench scrapers. Do we want to get stainless steel, or do we want like some kind of plasticky silicone?
Yeah, so actually for the bench scraper, mine's plastic and I don't like it. I recommend the metal one.
A what one?
Metal.
Metal, okay.
Yeah.
Both, metal is better.
Metal's better, yeah, exactly. This thing gets all nicked up and stuff. It's not as sharp anymore as it used to be. So, but like I said, you don't really need it, but it will make your job easier. And then for the bowl scraper, you'll just want something that's kind of flexible, so you want plastic for that. Rubber. Cool. So next weekend it's a long process. So again, it's not a lot of work for you, but it's just a lot of waiting. So what we'll do is we will feed our starters on Friday. We will get together on Saturday and we'll do, just like we did for the focaccia, we'll make the dough, we'll fold it. In the afternoon, we'll shape it, and then we're gonna put it in the fridge overnight. And then the next day, bake it. So it's a 3-day process. It's not a lot of hands-on time, a few seconds to a few minutes at a time, but just make sure you know that it spreads over 3 days. Cool. Has anybody got any more questions?
3 days.
3 days.
I'm gonna drop my oven now.
Hey, Alice.
I'm a little behind. You don't think I should open it, David, to drop it faster?
Up to you. I don't think you need to, but if you want to, you can.
I'll just do a little bit. Mine do not look as puffy as yours. As usual.
Cool. How much time we got left here? We got 6 minutes. I'm gonna take a look at these. How they're looking. Yeah, they're looking good. We'll give those a few more. Cool. If there's no more questions, I've got questions for you guys. What are you doing this weekend? Is anybody doing anything? Is anybody cooking or baking anything special? Because I know it's Easter, it's Passover, it's springtime. Is Anybody got anything going on?
No.
I was inspired by all of my Jewish friends' Zoom Seder, so I am hosting Zoom Easter dinner.
Awesome.
Nice.
You're making Easter cookies today. Cut out cookies and we're decorating them tomorrow.
Cool.
Nice.
That's good. Alice, what's on the menu?
Oh, I don't really care what they eat. I just realized that normally I host Easter dinner, and so it like fell to me to like organize the people who would normally come to join by Zoom. And then I figured I would invite the rest of the people who don't come for Easter, but who are related to us. And they all responded like really quickly, like, oh, that's great. But like none of them would have done it. So
Okay. Hey,
inspired, like, I just think most people I'm related to are not on Zoom as much as I am, or Twitter. So.
Cool. Well, good for you. That'll be fun.
The funny thing
Having Zoom Easter tomorrow too.
Yeah, I will see you there for that. We're doing that with Jenny's side, and we'll do that with my side as well.
One of the funny things that we saw going on the internet is somebody, family member, created a fake account for the for the prophet, and had them join the Zoom dinner, the Passover dinner, halfway through. So if you want to be super pro for your Passover dinner or any of your dinners, create a fake account for somebody.
I could have like Jesus show up.
Yeah, the risen Christ could arrive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is always here.
Always with us.
Doesn't need a Zoom account.
We got quite the feast planned out. Tell people what we're making.
Yeah. We looked at all of our family's traditions and what we like out of our traditional Easters, and are doing each of those with a little bit of twist. So David's in process of making hot cross buns. They're sourdough hot cross buns.
Sourdough, of course. I've never done a sweet sourdough bread, so we'll find out how this goes. It's rising right now.
It has raisins in it, so it's disgusting. So I won't be eating any.
Smells good.
Also, what's that?
Send us the recipe for that, Dave.
I will let you know the recipe if it works.
Yeah, wait till they're done first.
I want to do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Carrot cake, making Portuguese sweet rice, an Italian brunch torte. It's gonna be very healthy. Crescent rolls, eggs, meat, cheese, more crescent rolls. There's a bunch of vegetables too.
Veggies, yeah.
Shrimp cakes, asparagus with shaved cheese, fruit platter, and cocktails. It's a brunch. We're having an Easter brunch.
Yeah. It's gonna be good.
Yep.
Let's see.
Any other sourdough related questions that people have? Doing any other baking or anything?
Jackson's gonna go take a nap, so he's gonna say bye. Bye.
Hi, Jackson.
Bye, Jack.
It's fussy.
No.
I like how he just flew away.
Yes. Yeah. He's pretty exceptional. That's the word we use. I'm sure every parent uses.
Is that Harper in the middle there?
What?
And of sourdough. I love them. I love them.
Like,
Cool.
I like the taste.
Good. Yeah, it's good, huh?
I went to Focaccia last weekend. That was good.
Oh yeah, right. I didn't ask. So I saw a lot of pictures. Dan's gonna Dan's dog in the corner.
Peppa wanted to make some sourdough popovers today.
a monster from that angle.
Yeah.
She's actually cute. She looks a little terrifying in that picture.
Yeah. So I saw a lot of pictures of focaccia online last weekend, but the question is, how did they taste? And I talked to some of you, but have you guys been enjoying it all week? Did it last like one day? Ours did not last very long. We ate one day, yeah. We ate more than half of it in like that 3-hour period.
Night.
Yeah, on Saturday evening, and then we finished it like the next day. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was delicious. It was disgusting that we ate so much.
Yeah, it was good.
Madeline, did you eat any of the focaccia that Dad made last week? The bread that Dad made, did you eat any of it?
No.
Was it the onions? Is that the problem? You're muted, so I can't hear you.
It didn't look good. I didn't want it.
Okay, it looks fantastic.
What?
Not even like a little pinch where there wasn't any of the filling?
That's okay. It was just more for me.
Amaris, did you like unload yours off on your roommate or anything, or what did you do with all of your focaccia?
I think I'm gonna turn it into a strata tomorrow because I still have a bunch. And my roommate is on a crazy diet. He won't eat it, so I have to eat it all by myself, which is just too much. So yeah, I'm gonna try to make a strata tomorrow.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Why we mess this up every time? Ours just look like muffins.
Oh my god.
There we go. There's mine.
Whoa.
You sorted a bit, Dave? Yeah. Wow.
Yep, they all popped out. So they just pop out
What did
naturally.
we do wrong? We did it exactly like it said.
I don't know.
Go.
Oh, those are awesome.
Yeah. I'm gonna let these cool for just a minute so I don't burn my mouth.
I don't know.
Oh, it's a little stuck actually.
Meow. Meow.
Eric, did you eat yours yet? Try it.
Dad, did you eat it?
I did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How is it?
Very good.
Maddie, did you have one?
We used. Okay. Go show them. Go ahead.
Question, David. It's funny because I made a single one because I thirded the recipe and I have this massive like double the volume per cup. So it really just filled one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm just not sure if it's actually cooked. How if I break open it, what should the consistency in the inside be like?
It's a great segue. I'm gonna rip this thing open. You ready to have one?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna. So a lot of steam should come out. Boom! I don't know if you can see all that steam. And then inside, it's actually gonna be really kind of custardy. There you go. It's custardy. It's flaky. So I got like some flakes on there.
If mine's super doughy, is that an indication that it's not done?
It's still really wet.
It's not wet. It's just like I don't know. It seems like densely doughy.
It should be kind of hollow.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it's not hollow. Okay.
Mine have big holes in the middle, but
yeah,
that's
exactly. Air bubbles kind of forcing their way out. So I say, I mean, if you're worried that's undercooked, throw it back in. Try it out. I don't know. That's really good.
Might just eat the
hard
outside.
to broke it open and put it back in the oven.
We have another minute on ours.
Those are pop unders.
Yeah, ours are pop unders.
Oh no.
Yeah. Really good.
Every time.
Wipe it into the oven so we can see it.
Well, they're gonna come out in
Yeah, they're coming out
a
in
minute.
a minute.
You'll see. They look like muffins.
They just look like flat muffins.
Yeah.
Every time I make this is what happens.
No. Do we try the hot again? I don't know.
We followed the recipe just like the one you sent us.
Cool. So Mikey seems like he's digging into one. Tastes good.
It's a cinnamon sugar one. It's so good.
Nice.
Ah.
Butter and cinnamon
How'd
sugar.
you make it cinnamon sugar? Did you put it in the dough or did you sprinkle it on top?
No, I just added it now. So I melted a bit of butter and poured the butter over it and then
So
rolled
good.
it in cinnamon sugar. What do you think?
Good.
Tell 'em.
It's super good.
Nice.
Harper likes it too.
Harper likes it. That's all we need to know.
Amazing. Oh, so good.
Lucy, how did yours come out?
I don't think mine's done. It's like very wet in the middle and it's not very hollow.
Okay.
Oh.
You can try throwing them in for another, couple minutes. See how that goes. All right. I'm gonna try the Mikey method. I'm gonna get cinnamon sugar here. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very good.
That's the good stuff.
Here, put the cooling rack on the floor.
These are our gluten-free ones right here.
Hey, they popped a lot. Look
Look
at
at that pop.
Yeah, they blew up.
They look like maybe they're not done yet though.
Yours, but I'll open one up and see how it is.
Yeah, you can leave it in for a
See,
little.
ours are like muffins.
Muffins.
Yeah.
But
I think you want
I mean,
to.
but they're pretty hard on top, so I don't know if we should have them in longer. I don't know.
Skipping.
I mean, I know the free flour might brown in a different color or something. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
Popped, Lisa. That one in the corner? Or did
No,
you,
I just picked it up on purpose so it looked like it popped.
was the oven at 450 degrees fully and your muffin tin was in there before you put the batter in?
Yes, we put it on at like 9:35.
Wow.
I don't know what the inside looks like. We're gonna give it a minute.
When they lift this,
This is ours.
Help us.
Side of
Yeah,
ours.
yeah, David. When the band's lifted, you're making them for breakfast for us when we sleep.
you gotta learn.
Oh, Dan, that looked good in the middle, right?
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it's pretty hollow.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hollow.
Yeah. Christian, how'd yours come out?
I don't know if I've ever had a popover before. I'm not quite sure what to expect. So I put cinnamon. I put powdered sugar on mine because I don't like savory.
Yeah.
But it's light flavor, which is nice. I like it.
Right. Good.
I've had it before. I've always loved them.
All right, ready? Should we pop one?
Yeah, yeah. Good. Well, if you haven't had a popover before, then you won't know if these are wrong. So we'll just assume they're right. And they're good.
Generally, like pretty eggy.
Yeah, they're kind of eggy, custardy in the middle.
So I'm just gonna overindulge with some Nutella. Just
Dave, my mother used to cook these for Sunday dinner, Sunday roast. They're called a Yorkshire pudding in England. Yeah, but yeah, they have
Yeah, this is a good point. So, I mean, we're gonna eat all of these things probably way too soon. We have them for breakfast, and then a lot of times we make them. We'll have them with
It's not
dinner.
hollow.
You have soup. You have whatever you can.
Not hollow. Sorry.
Well, you made muffins.
Yeah, we made muffins.
No.
They're steaming like yours, but we made muffins.
They did good.
Put some cinnamon and
They
sugar.
don't taste like muffins though.
No.
No.
Delicious.
Good, huh?
I want to try it without almond milk. Next time I want to use regular milk.
Oh, yeah. Try that too.
Love that. Sounds sick.
So, yeah. Popovers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's my suggestion.
Is yours still cooking, Amaris? No? Have you eaten it?
I just ate the edges. I mean, I think the whole thing's fine. I think what it is that it's not meant to be cooked in that large of a mass together. So I probably just didn't have time to aerate in the middle because it was too big. But it's tasty, like around the edges especially, which is what I'm eating.
Good. Oh, I don't know. I think should we sign off? Should we cancel? Yeah. So I think that the episode for today is done. I'd like to thank you all for coming. This was fun. This is a good excuse for me to make popovers. I hope that I hope this recipe serves you well. It's like, as you can tell, it's pretty simple, right? We had 5 things. You kind of mix them all together. We even mixed them wrong, and they still came out delicious.
Yeah, I love
Ours
that.
taste good, even though they didn't pop over.
Yeah. So something to try again. Try again next weekend. Try again on Wednesday. I don't know. We're all home, so.
Right.
Whatever.
Keep in mind, this is a good, like, if you don't want to do a 3-day bread making event, but you need to feed your starter, you need something to do with the starter, this is something you can do
Right.
quick and easy.
Yeah. It's good to have a few of these recipes in your back pocket,
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
I'll see you next weekend. Look for an email
Bye,
later.
everybody.
Happy Easter.
Bye, everybody.
Happy Passover.
Bye. Thank you.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.